I refer the House to my declaration of interest. In March, I had the absolute pleasure of visiting Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, and I was blown away by the unbelievable resilience of the Rohingya people living there. Over 1 million refugees live in Cox's Bazar, with over 900,000 of those having fled persecution in Myanmar. Madam Deputy Speaker, I was a nurse for 25 years and I worked in public health all my working life before being elected to Parliament. The conditions facing vulnerable refugees in Bangladesh are some of the worst I've witnessed. Living conditions in Cox's Bazar are extremely poor, with overcrowding, inadequate sanitation, and limited access to clean water, meaning that infectious disease spreads very easily. Chronic malnutrition is also a major concern, where 40% of children suffer from stunted growth. 45% of all Rohingya families are living with insufficient diets, and 41% of pregnant and breastfeeding women are anemic and just don't have enough access to the health services they need. Many refugees have experienced trauma, including violence, displacement, grief and loss, all of which can lead to significant mental health conditions like anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. I am a lay manager at my local NHS trust in Birmingham, and I know the difficulties many people face with their mental health here in the UK. We can only imagine how difficult it must be for people who have been forced away from their homes and families and who have seen indescribable violence on the way.
Would my friend give way?
Thank you, my friend, for giving way. It is quite heartening in the way the member for Erdington is putting forward in terms of what was seen at the Cox's Bazar. As has been said by other members for Ipswich and Peterborough, this has been going on for 6 years. We cannot allow this to continue for another 6 years, and the international community, with Great Britain playing a leading role, has to bring an end to this.
Honourable Member, I absolutely support what you're saying. This has to come to an end. When I went to Bangladesh, and I had the absolute honour of going to those camps, because sometimes it doesn't matter what you read, you have to see it and experience it. And when I went there and saw the conditions people were living in, and the Right Honourable Member said earlier about the one house that I went into, and a number of us went into this very small house, and this gentleman was just so, I think he was quite proud, because that's all he had to call his own. But when you think what they just haven't got, and the fact that they were worried about it becoming dark, and the fact that it then becomes lawless, it was uplifting to see that he was proud, but it was actually really sad to see what they've been going through, what they're experiencing, and what was about to happen even on the night we left the camps. It really opened my eyes. So the governments have got to get together and support the Bangladesh government to get this travesty ended. As with any conflict, the impact on the crisis has hit women and girls disproportionately harder. UN Women has said that most women and girls in the camp in Cox's Bazar are either survivors of or witnesses to gender-based violence. and fires in the camps, which was highlighted earlier, are a significant problem, with the most recent in March this year destroying health facilities, waterworks, women's centres, learning centres and mosques. These are things that are absolutely important to these people. Madam Deputy Speaker, it is now over 5 years since the Rohingya crisis began. While I am glad to see the government's recent announcement of the funding package to help over 400,000 people through the World's Food Programme, it is still concerning that UK aid to this crisis has fallen by 82%, as highlighted earlier, since 2020. It is imperative that UK government support continues and focuses on the serious public health issues and chronic malnutrition in the camps. And in the midst of the government's rhetoric and unworkable gimmicks on immigration, I think it's also important that we remember how much value refugees bring to the UK. I was overwhelmed by the willingness of the government of Bangladesh to support the refugees and their willingness not to give up on the Rohingya. But they cannot do it alone. I hope both sides of this House can work together to improve safety, security and the health of the Rohingya people living in what is the largest refugee settlement in the world. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.